everybody. Bear with me just a moment. There we go. Get my background music stopped. How are you guys tonight? It is Saturday, March 2nd, and this is just going to be an episode of getting stuff done, or get stuff done, or whatever you want to call it. But we're just going to work on projects tonight, not doing anything fancy, not doing anything set. I see Glenda's in the chat. I've got one other viewer on there, so I'm glad you're here. If for any reason you cannot hear me, please put it in the chat. Let me know. I'm still testing out my new microphone, and I have not tested it running the machine yet, so that will be something new for tonight. So it is, I'm starting earlier than I planned at 7:10 here in Casper, Wyoming. And I've got 2 projects I could be working on tonight. Hi Arlie, hi Guessy Nancy. Glad you guys are here. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. So I can work on either of 2 projects tonight. I can work more on my Elizabeth Hartman. That you guys have been seeing this block for a while. I actually have almost. My audio is going in and out. Thank you. Let's see what I can do. Hang on. It's caught. Let's see. This is the big old mic I'm using. So it is huge, and it's going to be in the way of my sewing machine camera, so we'll figure that out. Maybe that'll be a little bit better, at least for right now. When I get my machine going, if you guys are hearing too much of my machine, let me know. I will troubleshoot that throughout the night. That is perfectly fine. Hi, Sean. Glad you are here. Good day to you, too. I am so excited. We are doing that in 2 weeks. So I am so excited. If I got those dates correct, you can let me know. Thank you, Glenda. I appreciate it. This is the Elizabeth Hartman. This is the block that I've been hanging around with for a while. Hi, Chloe. I am so glad you finally made it. Congrats. Thank you. This is just going to be an episode of getting stuff done. It's not going to be anything fancy. So you guys have the choice of 2 different projects that I could be working on tonight. I can either work on the Elizabeth Hartman, or I can work on Prismatic Star. Yep, 2 weeks from today. Yay! So you guys who don't know, I will be going on Sean's channel, the guy who sews. And Sean, if you want, you can do !selfie. And that will drop a link to your channel. Yeah, I caught a little bit of their live this morning, Glenda. I actually caught it on the replay. But I can either work on this Elizabeth Hartman and get some more of it done. I've got all of my flying geese finally done and pressed. Or I can work on Prismatic Star. So I don't know which one you guys want me to work on. I see everybody greeting everybody and saying hello. Hello to everybody. I am so glad all you guys are here. I really do appreciate it. Awesome. There we go. And yay! Nightbot is working. So you guys get to tell me, which would you rather see me work on? You want to see me working on getting some of these stars done, and I can either try to do 1 block, or I can do like a whole bunch of them, or whichever, or I can work on that Prismatic Star behind me. I have all the pieces and parts to it sitting right here as well. Vote for the Prismatic Star. All right, so we got our first vote in. Do what brings me joy. Either one. Arlie says Prism as well. All right, so Prismatic Star it is, you guys. So I am going to have to pull my phone picture up repeatedly while I work on it. I am going to have to take out a seam on this one. And let me actually swap real quick cameras, and I'll show you what I'm going to have to take out. so you guys can see it. And let me actually readjust this camera a little bit because my microphone is definitely going to be in the way. So we're going to play it by ear or by microphone and see what happens with it tonight. Definitely experimenting with a new microphone. It is definitely not what I envisioned for my life, but that's okay. And Arlie, I haven't seen you in the chats before. Can you tell me what state you're from or where you're located? That way I have kind of an idea where everybody is, because I know I've got East Coast represented, and I don't know where everybody's from, you know? I really don't. I know Chloe's in Rhode Island. Like what said, do what brings joy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I work on what brings me joy as long as I'm sewing. So it doesn't matter to me. I've got to get both of them done eventually. So let me see real quick. Yes, you do see a Dr. Pepper. There's one right here. And it's over halfway gone. And there's another one down on the floor that I just pulled out of the refrigerator. Western Kentucky and Virginia. Southeast U.S. I actually moved up here from Alabama last year. So I am very, very familiar with Southeast U.S. I moved up here to get away from the humidity. The humidity was definitely killing me. Alabama? Glenda, you're in Alabama. Ah. Rainy in Rhode Island. It's torrential. Yeah, we actually, amazingly enough, we have rain today. Shocker, we have rain. I grew up in Birmingham. Then I lived in Huntsville for a decade, and then I've lived in Montgomery, and then I've lived in Chilton County, which is halfway between Birmingham and Montgomery, for those who aren't familiar with Alabama. I've never lived in Virginia, though, or Kentucky, but I've been to both. It's been a while, but I've been to both. And you guys will see me drinking tonight. And it is, I promise it is just Dr. Pepper. It is not alcohol. I do not operate heavy machinery when I drink. When the rarities that I drink. All right, let's see. Go Biscuits. Yeah. I never watched the Biscuits. Like, I know that they're there, but I just never watched it. 12 Mice on Toy. Okay. I know about where that's at. Okay. Gotcha. Shelby County. Yay. Yeah, okay. So when I say I grew up in Birmingham, I actually grew up in Pelham. And so Hoover is right at that Shelby County, Jefferson County line. So I grew up in Shelby County, just across the line from Jefferson County. And I commuted into Birmingham every day. So that's why I say I grew up in Birmingham. What part of Alabama did I live? So I was born in Birmingham. I grew up in Pelham. Went to school in downtown Birmingham while I was growing up in Pelham. And then I moved away for college. Then my parents moved to Chilton County when I moved away for college. And then I moved up to Huntsville for a decade. And my husband and I met. We moved to Montgomery, stayed there for about a year, and then we moved to Chilton County. And we lived in various parts of Chilton County before we moved up here. You went and saw a Biscuits game and Barons game when you were there. I know Hoover. Yes. I spent a lot of time at the Hoover Met growing up. The Hoover Met was still very, very new. The Barons did play there. They do not play there anymore. Not to my knowledge anymore. My husband is heavily into baseball, and he knows all the baseball travel and all of that kind of stuff. Like the baseball world is his world. But we never went to a Biscuits game, but I knew they were there. I also never went to a game. There's a team in Gulfport, Mississippi that is also linked to the Braves, just like the Biscuits are. And lived in Pelham when you're 4 to 6. Yep. I know exactly where that's at. But I never went to any of their games either. I did go to the Barons when they were there, but I was in high school. Yep, downtown to Regentsfield. Yep. There is a baseball field in downtown Birmingham that is the oldest field. I'll have to look up the information on that. I'll have it for you in a couple weeks. I mean, all I have to do is ask my husband. Bayport is the Jumbo Shrimp, I think. That might be true. Gulfport is, what's Gulfport's team? If I wasn't trying to think of it, I would know. Because I know people that like volunteer for them, but I can't remember the name of their team. That is awesome. That does make it a very small world. We actually took my stepdaughter to go swimming at Oak Mountain when we were living in Alabama. And she was not a big fan of the fish swimming around in the pond up there, or the whatever you want to call it. But they put a beach there. Hi, Maritza. Glad you're here. I'm going to be working on Prismatic Star tonight. Let me actually show you guys what I need to fix. But I'm going to leave it for now. I'm not going to fix it for now. Alright, so you guys are going to see my mic, and I am so sorry. Let me do that. Let's see. Yeah, Rickwood, that sounds right. I bet you that is it. That definitely sounds right. Alright, so when I put these together, I did not trim off all my extras. So my extras are hanging around, but that's not a big deal. What a big deal is this green to this red does not line up. I know it doesn't show up very well on camera. Let me grab a ruler real quick and see if that will help it show up. Alright, so this ruler is following the bottom, and then up here at the top it does not line up. So I am going to have to rip and fix this. Yeah, Maritza, you just missed the massive conversation about Alabama because that's where I moved from. Oh, you know what? Hang on, you guys. There we go. Now you can actually see what I'm showing you. I am so sorry. So, I've got overhang right here between my two pieces, but it's that the green and the red do not line up. So, if you can see right here, this green is just not even under the ruler, whereas the red is completely under the ruler. So that I do have to fix. You got a new seam ripper today, Sean. Awesome. You know what? Before I swap you guys over, let me show you mine. And I just have to get new blades every so often. I use a Fisker seam ripper, and it has a blade, like an angle or a curved blade, so I can just get under those stitches and rip those. So her name is Jackie. One of my subscribers told me, because I didn't want to name her Jack. I didn't want to name my seam ripper Jack. So I was going to go for Jill, because Jack and Jill. But then somebody suggested Jackie instead of Jill. All right, let's transition back up, you guys. All right. So basically, I've got to make 3 more identical to this. You're waiting for yours from Fallon and Matt. I actually just ordered from them, Glenda. I ordered, was it today? I think it was today. Oh, no, it was yesterday. I have been wanting a slide lock ruler for forever. And I went to cut yardage the other day, and my ruler was just sliding around on me every which way. And I just had enough and finally just decided that I couldn't handle it anymore. You went to a fabric weaving class with your older daughter. Awesome. I have not done fabric weaving. Are you doing it with like bias strips? Is that how that you guys were doing it? You would have ordered, yeah, if you didn't find one at the quilt show. It's always wonderful to find stuff at the quilt show. I know, that slide lock is worth every penny. I've tried it out before. Like, I've been to quilt shops that have had the slide lock, but I've just never put the money into getting one. So I'm going to cheat, and I'm just going to bring my Martelli mat over, so that way I can see the chat while I'm talking to you guys. Oh, okay. With the wefty needle. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm going to order those fast turn tubes. I've seen a lady demonstrate them finally, and they finally make sense as to why they're like so majorly awesome. And I've got a what do you call it? I've got a stained glass window quilt that I want to do, and the previous way that I've started it, I was using bias strips cut at, I want to say, 1/8 of an inch, but I did not, they were not like bound bias strips, they were just straight bias strips, so they were fraying on either side. When Sean showed it this morning, thought it was from Fella and Matt. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I did not get to see the whole thing, so if I missed that part, I did miss it. I'm planning to go back and watch replays. I have been fighting a migraine, so I just I kind of fell off the face of the earth a little bit, trying to keep myself from succumbing to the migraine. I'm being sent for physical therapy to see if physical therapy can prevent my migraines. And my first therapy was this past Thursday, and I think it kind of actually triggered one. So, it is what it is. It's just another technique we're going to try and see. We're trying to avoid medication and all kinds of other stuff. Oh, you won the little one. Awesome. You did straight bias and it frayed a little bit. Yeah. That was what I was thinking, is that it was just going to keep fraying. So when I saw the fast turn tubes and I saw how she did it and how flawless it was working, I was like, oh, I can do that now that I see how it's done. And I do need to do bias tubes for what I'm doing so that it doesn't fray. They are crippling, Glenda. Yeah. I don't wish migraines on anyone. I previously was on different medications, and the doctor was trying a new option, not new, like new on the market, but a new to me option, something I hadn't tried before. And my autoimmune disorder basically shut down that option. My autoimmune system just went haywire, and I don't know if I'm actually allergic to what he put in me or we did for the treatment, or if it was just my autoimmune system. So we don't know. So we're trying as many non-medication options as we can do. I do have some medication, but of course, medications aren't always the right answer for everyone. So we're trying everything we can find. So I went to a flea market today, my first one here in Wyoming, and the ones that I'm used to going to, of course, in Alabama, they are definitely all outside, and yeah, sometimes inclement weather. I mean, today was kind of inclement weather. It was high wind, and, so it wasn't the greatest weather to be, getting out in, but... So I went to the flea market. It was $2.50 to get in, so $2.50 or 250 pennies, since I was going 250. And there was one vendor there that had fabric. And, of course, I'm a quilter. I had to stop. Oh, gosh darn it. All right, this strip's going to have to wait. I'm going to have to rip it. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and rip it. I'm going to fix it. I do too, Chloe. I have not been to a flea market in a really long time. And sometimes, you find just the right thing, and sometimes you don't. They actually had, and I was kind of surprised, they had a lot of vintage irons. And I have a vintage iron. I can't say that word without feeling like I'm sounding super Southern. But I have one already, but they had so many. I mean, like more than I've ever seen in one place. I was really kind of shocked. I've not ever seen that many irons, vintage irons. It's kind of cool. I mean, and it was all different vendors, so it wasn't just one person who had all of them. All right, I'm going to swap you guys over so you guys can see what I am doing with this. And I'm going to make some adjustments first. Now that I have figured out some of how this works. All right, that's as zoomed out as it can be. All right. So let's swap you guys over. All right, so what I'm having to do, when I put these strips on, they were just straight strips. Vintage irons as in pre-electric? No. I didn't look. I didn't see any that were pre-electric, but there were a lot that were the old, like, if you buy a Singer Featherweight, it's considered a vintage machine. These would be considered vintage along with it. Like, they're that kind of vintage. All right, so I put these strips on here, and most of the time they came out fine. The template. So the template had, like, some areas where you could cut the ends, but I did not do that to any of the pieces. So I ended up with extra ends, which is fine. That's what I'm trimming off. But on this piece, and maybe I'm hoping that my camera will stop trying to refocus every 5 seconds. So this actually comes out less or more than 1/4 of an inch away. So if I were to sew my next piece on, I'm going to have some of the raw edge showing. So I've got to rip this strip out, and I have extra, so I've got plenty of room to do this. But I'm just going to have to rip it out and then move it down, re-sew it, and then re-sew these little seams right here. So that's what I'm going to do real quick. That's why I brought you guys over, so you'd see that, I'm not just sitting here doing nothing. Do you guys like seeing me do this, or do you want me to put it back on my face? So, let's see. So what I do is I rip every 2nd or 3rd stitch from one side, and I just leave the other thread in there, and then I pull it. You got your grandmother's old iron that they put on the old wood stoves. Oh, awesome. I have a vintage electric iron that I bought gosh, I bought it in Alabama. I bought it within the last 3 years. But I don't plug it into anything, so I don't know if it works because I'm kind of chicken. I don't want to like burn up a socket or, have any problems. But it has its own little box. It's a GE, and it does take steam, or does do steam. I think it's a little like little squirter thing to do your steam with. And I think it's kind of cool. And I mainly got it for looks. I didn't get it to attempt to use it. When I did have a featherweight for a little while. I sold it because I didn't really have a whole bunch of extra room. But when I had the featherweight, I did have to replace the power cord because it just it wasn't in the greatest shape, so it kind of scared me. And replacing the power cord is not a problem for the featherweights. And I did even get the little style that still has the button. So when I sold it off, it still had the original style foot, even though it was an updated power plug to it. They do make good bookends. You're right, Arlie. Oh, yes, they do. Mine is in my storage closet with a lot of my other stuff, and it is actually kind of being used as a bookend. I have a shelf that is nothing but rolls of embroidery stabilizer because I do machine embroidery every so often. I don't do it as often as I could. But I can, hop over and do embroidery if I want to. So I've got tons of embroidery stabilizer. And front door stop. Oh, yep. I can imagine. They're nice and heavy. They work really well for it. And it's a lot more attractive than a cinder block. My grandmother had, last time I was at her house, or at least when I was growing up, I remember at least, she had one of those little red bricks, the little long rectangular bricks, and she had that wrapped in fabric, and they had some kind of strap that they had attached to it so she could pick it up and move it. Oh, you guys are bringing back memories. This is awesome. I do not mind one bit. All right, so I'm going to rip this corner now so that I can move everything down. And the nice thing is, because I do have both sides stitched, it'll be a little bit easier to tell. All right, so let me rip right here. There's the end of that. Okay. And I don't really need the rest of that, but that's okay. All right, so I know you couldn't see everything that I was doing when I was doing the ripping, but so my piece is completely ripped off, but it's still there because the thread is just kind of hanging around. Oh, and I also didn't. Let me back out a couple of stitches here too. There we go. So this is another technique also to help preserve some of your more fragile fabrics, because it doesn't put any extra strain on the fabric. So what I can do now is come in here and just grab a hold of this thread, and then I'm pulling one solid thread out. So this is the one piece of thread from the back side. So I do have I'll have a few little pieces, that kind of hang around from the other side, but it is completely ripped. And there is no extra strain on any fabrics. So these are bias fabrics right here. These are bias edges on the edges of these diamonds. And so when you go to rip something like that, you want to make sure not to put any extra stretch. And so ripping it that way will not put any extra stretch on your fabric. All right, so let's go line this up, and then we will get it reattached. And the nice thing is because this is a batik, it really doesn't matter which direction I go. But because I did previously have it attached, it does have the little markings in the fabric kind of showing me where everything is. I think I am going to find something to put over my light here, you guys, to help you guys be able to see what's right here. Because I know, like, right here is just a white spot. So I do realize that. I am working on a plan. I haven't pulled out my painter's tape yet. That's the first thing I'm going to try is painter's tape. Alright, so I see where my last seam was. Pull my extra out of the way, and we are just going to shove this down quite a bit because I really don't need the extra on that one end. So I'm going to line this up, and this is actually where I do use pins. This kind of project with all these bias seams or bias edges, I do use pins just because it likes to shift. And I really don't want to fight with it, and I don't want to stretch the fabric. So I am mainly trying to pin or line up along the seam lines where the fabric isn't going to stretch as much, at least on my diamond pieces. So I will be going live tomorrow too, you guys. And so I may work on this some more tomorrow, depending on how far I get tonight. I'm just going to sew for as long as people are wanting to be here and hang out. I'm going to try to at least get 1/4 done on live tonight, since this is a project you guys picked. So there we go. And I'm not going to worry about pinning the last little bit. So let's see how much this shows. All right, so I do have these pins put in, and yeah, I haven't really pressed anything out. Let me actually wake my iron up, and we are going to sew that 1/4 inch of a seam allowance and see if we've got plenty this time. It doesn't look like we will. Hang on. Let's see what I end up with. All right, so that ends up there. Oh my goodness, guys. It's going to end up at the same spot where it was, and I don't know how I did that. All right, so glad I checked. So we are going to move this down even further. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow my diamond pieces underneath and line this up a little bit more towards that end, and that will for sure give me some extra room because I don't need it there. All right, so this is a very, very easy pattern, but I'm just making it more difficult because I can. Because my mind has just decided that this must be difficult for me for some reason, and that's the only reason that's being difficult. Like, the instructions tell you exactly how to do it, and I didn't follow the instructions. So, like, we're going with that. That's my excuse, is that I did not follow the instructions. So, I mean, I guess if I trimmed all these, then it would have worked. Yeah, I would have been ripping it again if I hadn't realized it, Chloe. We would have been spending a lot more time with Jackie. I like her. Don't get me wrong. She's a sweetheart and she does her job. But we'd have definitely spent a lot more time with her. All right, so now when I flip it out, oh yeah, I will have plenty of room. All right. So we are going to, the machine has not been sewn on tonight, so it's going to make a big noise here in just a second. as it decides to wake up and engage for the first time of the evening. There we go. Nope. All right, there we go. All right. And let me know how loud the machine gets, because I don't know how loud it's going to come across, and I don't know whether or not my software is going to do the noise cancellation that it's supposed to do. So I'm sure you guys will be able to hear it, but I just don't know how loud. And I think if I sew really, really fast, it'll be super loud. And I don't want to blast out anybody's ears with the sound of a sewing machine. And you guys, I hate pens, but you see that I'm actually using them. I am not a pen person. It takes a lot for me to use pens. All right. So we've got this attached. And when I go to flip it up, I should have plenty of room to sew at this end, and I should have plenty of room to sew at this end. We can always adjust our volume. Yeah, but you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to. I'm trying to make it where you guys don't have to, because that's a lot of adjusting back and forth as I sew and don't sew and all of that too. All right, so let's grab this little seam and catch it back up. And I am just finger pressing it back. It's not exactly, of course, where it was, because again, I was having to move it. But, all right, and then let's grab, all right, we're going back this way. And so let's grab this seam. I'll grab it from the back side. That way I'm stitching the direction I like to stitch. Here we go. And this is my quieter machine. If I swapped to my long arm, we'd be talking a totally different story. Okay, so that works. I mean, I still got to press it, because again, I did all that work to it. And the other side works as well. So you can see just how much I moved it. That press line is where that seam was. And so now that's where it is. So that was a good half inch almost. Yeah, good half inch almost. 3/8 of an inch. Hi, Joyce. Glad you're here. Hi. I'll swap you guys back over so you guys can see me. There we go. I'm glad you were able to join us tonight. And this is just, if you haven't been to Get Stuff Done before, I am just doing a work on a project. I'm not doing anything fancy. We're not doing any kind of major announcements. We're not doing any kind of somethings. We're just working on projects. This is kind of like a UFO time, or a current projects. I mean, this is current projects, so you know, I have a lot. I mean, basically, it's all cut out, so therefore, it's a UFO because it's unfinished. All right, so I've got a full piece, so now I can trim up the extra, and then I can actually get to sewing it to the black. Well, I'll also make sure I've got 3 more pieces, because I'm going to need 3 more pieces as well. So I'll double check for that before we get to sewing the black and I swap everything over. So, is anybody sewing on anything tonight while you guys are watching, or are you just kind of hanging out just watching, or you just got me on, listening in or whatever? Because I love to know what everybody else is working on. Lord knows I got enough of my own projects. Can't pick up anything else. You know what? I just set my ruler aside and didn't mean to. It is 39 degrees here, and it rained earlier. And my hip is telling me that it rained. Even if I hadn't been outside, my hip is telling me. So, you're just watching? Nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. Are you... Yay! Thank you, Maritza. If you guys have not checked out Maritza's channel, she just dropped her selfie link in there. So if you have a channel, if you have a YouTube channel, feel free to drop your link in. Just do !selfie, and that will put your link in. All right, we have another date with Jackie. Hanging out. I got soaked coming back from a middle school play that your girls wanted to see. Awesome. Glenda's watching and listening. Awesome. I hope my voice is soothing and encouraging. You know, there's always those people that, you know, I just can't handle listening to their voice. I hope I'm not that person. I hope I'm somebody that you guys can listen to. All right, we are going to swap back over to the sewing machine. So I have another one, and I'm going to show you guys before I go any further with it and start ripping. So this is going to be more than 1/4 of an inch that I'm going to have raw edge. So I'm going to do the same thing to this strip that I did to that last one. I'm going to rip the whole strip out, and then I'm going to shift it down, sew it back, and sew the sides back. So here's Jackie. I have been getting on YouTube, and I've got YouTube Premium, so I don't get commercials. So if you guys do get commercials on my channel, I'm not earning anything from it yet. But if you guys do get commercials on my channel, just let me know that you got taken away by a commercial. That way I know, you know, about how long people are missing things. And if I need to repeat anything, let me know that I need to repeat something. I don't want anybody to feel like they're missing out because I forget that YouTube does have commercials because I don't get them. But I caught a movie the other night, and I was in a movie kick, and I don't know why. I'm not normally a movie person. But I caught a movie, and I watched Mary Shelley. And for those of you who don't know who Mary Shelley is, she was the author of... You haven't seen one? Okay, gotcha. Mary Shelley was the author of Frankenstein. Now, for those who don't know me well enough yet, I am not a horror movie person. I'm not a horror book person. I could not finish... I actually had failing grades on certain assignments in high school because I could not finish any of the Edgar Allan Poe stories. I think mid-roll ads are only on monetized channels. Okay, gotcha. I have YouTube Premiums too. There you go, Joyce. It's so worth it. And Glenda hasn't seen any. Awesome. Okay, thank you. And that will go, you know, going forward. If you guys ever do see commercials on my channel, just type in the word commercial, and then I'll know that somebody, you know, ended up on a commercial. Me either. Awesome. Well, we need to get me to that point where, you know, this becomes a problem, right? So what I was watching Mary Shelley, but Mary Shelley is the author of Frankenstein. And Frankenstein is a very dark, challenging story to get through. If you've ever, you know, all the cartoons of Frankenstein that I've seen, of course, you know, they get it wrong that Frankenstein is the monster, not the creator of the monster. And I can't even watch the black and white Frankenstein. Like, I can't. I can't. It's just not my thing. But, you know, YouTube suggested this movie for me, and I don't know why. But this was the story of Mary Shelley. And it gets her from a little girl to about the time where she met Percy Shelley. Percy Bysshe Shelley, I believe is his name. He was a poet, a very well-known poet, apparently. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. But yeah, Percy Shelley, I think, was a major poet. He was known for his poetry. It's about the same time as Lord Byron, who apparently was mad and crazy. And like all these other things that went on. And it was kind of an enlightening biography movie. And I do like biographies, so maybe that's why YouTube suggested it to me. I've been watching so many like Hallmark romance movies that it's really kind of odd that YouTube suggested a biography. But it was actually kind of worth it. I was pleasantly shocked. And it wasn't as dark as I thought it was going to end up being. After because I started watching it, I'm like, how the heck? None of it made sense. I had no idea who this woman was or anything about her. And so I paused the movie and looked her up, and I'm like, oh, wow. So I'm watching the movie about the lady that wrote, this super scary thing that I can't read. And, she actually kind of wrote it as a challenge to write a ghost story. And it actually, followed the story of the guy who actually wrote the vampire whatever that Lord Byron was credited for. He was in there. There was a whole bunch of just historical things. And that was kind of cool. And then I ended up on a 1986 movie with Sally Fields in it. And I have, can't even think of the word now. I have face blindness is the short answer. So I don't recognize faces. So even if you guys had faces on your little profiles, it wouldn't register with me. I don't recognize anybody's face, including my parents' faces. So actors and actresses, same deal. I do not recognize them until I hear them speak or I watch them do something that stands out to me. And the thing that stood out to me when I started catching this movie, I was like, that's the girl that was on Smokey and the Bandit. She was the runaway bride. And so I started looking up who all was in the movie I was watching. And I was like, oh, okay, so her name is Sally Fields, okay. And yes, it is the same lady. So yes, I had it right. But that's the only way that I know people. But I didn't get very far into that movie before I had to call it a night. All right, so we've got another piece ripped. And let's see. I'm going to line this back up. And I had it on here like this. I'm going to move it down so you guys can see a little bit better. And then I'm going to shift it down. So that makes it a little bit easier, I think, to reposition it. That way I don't do what I did with the last one and have to reposition it a couple of times. All right, back to the pins we go. So how many of you guys use these magnetic pin cushions like this? I've got this pink one, and I got this one mainly for my flathead pins, like my flower head pins. But I've got a purple one that I use for my glass head pins. And I'd much rather have them both in purple, but this way I can tell which one's which, just by looking at it. And I don't have to think too hard about which kind of pins I'm about to, pick up. Or what kind of pin cushion do you use if you don't use something like this? Do you use like those tomatoes, or do you use something you made? What kind of pin cushions do you use? I haven't used one of those. You have two? You have two of these? And are they the same color? Does that get you confused? if they're the same color, or do you just, use them interchangeably, whichever way. All right, let's get this seam sewn back out. Not me. I used the tomato one that everyone has. Okay. Now, Sean, if somebody made you a pincushion, would you use it? And I apologize, I did tap the microphone, guys, so I don't know if that made a big noise or not. I think I'll try to watch some of the replay and see how this sounds to me and see if I like the way it sounds for you guys. One blue and one yellow? Okay, awesome. Yeah, I like having separate colors from it. Use the magnetic pincushion and bowls. Okay. I have not had any luck with the bowls. I think I try to put other things in the bowls, and I repurpose them in other ways, and so then I don't have them as a pincushion. One of the first quilting classes I did, I taught the girls to make pincushions. My grandson sewed a hexagon one. I've been using it for 7 years. Wow. Oh, that's not great. Thank you, Joyce. I appreciate it. I know the microphone is right here, so I don't know. I just banged it just a minute ago, so I'm worried about you guys getting a sudden blast of sound. You don't think you would? You do? You think you would? I don't use pens a whole lot, so the old school tomato does the job. Yeah. So the pincushion that I had the girls make was a cube. So literally, looks like a Rubik's Cube, for shape wise. We did overstuff it. So we need to do something different for the stuffing, because that didn't work really well because it moved everywhere. But one side of it had a little flap that you could open and close. And then the next side had a button, and there was an elastic that went over the button to hold the flap closed. So you could open the flap up and you could have needles stuck in basically it was a needle minder on the side of the pincushion. So that was kind of a cool little deal. I don't know if they still have them or not. I'm wondering if I still have mine. I should. If I find mine, I'll pull it out. Currently use one I made. Tomato used for special extra needles. Okay, that's not a bad plan. I've seen some of those that have the needle markings, where you put your 90s, your 80s, your 70s, your microtex, all of that. My problem is when I pull a needle out of the machine, I immediately go ahead and put it to the recycle. I've got a little Singer, I believe. I'm looking right at it. I can see it, but I can't see the name on it. It's a little round plastic thing. Kind of looks like a small medicine bottle, but I mean it's needle size small. And it's supposed to be so you can store your needles in it. So it's got 4 different sides and they're all labeled. But I don't use it for fresh needles. I just use it as needle discard. Very nice pincushion idea. Thank you. Yeah, if I find it, I will pull it out. I don't remember. Maybe it was an idea that I got from Bernina, because I used to work for Bernina, so I taught Bernina as well. All right, we have got a success. So both sides are attached now, and I've got enough. So let me press it real quick. And I'm just pressing from the back, so I'm not being extra cautious to do whatever. I'm not being super precise with the pressing, because I figured I'll press out. So I'm gonna transition, you guys. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Okay, there we go. I put my used needles in an old medicine bottle, a small hole on the top so they could slip in easily. Yeah, this one has a little hole in the top, but it also has a little spinner thing. So kind of like if you had like multiple different toothpick dispenser kind of thing. It's kind of like that. Is kind of how it's set up. If I got up, I could go grab it, but I'm not getting up right now. This table is really kind of close to my machine. Like, I can't even fit my whole arm, like from elbow to tip of my fingers. That's like my exit room right there. Because this way is straight into the closet door. That is a closet. That is not an exit. I ought to put one of those signs that says exit and then like do the circle with the slash through it that says not an exit. Now when I am out, if I am out in public, like I'm at a retreat or I am at a sew day or something like that, like a guild sew, I will repurpose my Dr. Pepper bottles. So like once my Dr. Pepper bottle is empty, it becomes a needle storage. All right, so that's the 3 for that one. All right, so that's one. So I need a pink and I need the purple. All right, so we are going to look for the pieces that I need because I, of course, got them all out of order. There's a purple. Ooh, I touched the mic. I'm sorry. And there's a pink. All right. Let's hope I got these right. Not that I don't mind using Jackie. Ooh, I got one that's really close, but I think I'll be fine. Let me do the one that's really close first. Oh yeah, that's like 1/8 of an inch. We're good. I don't have to worry about that one. That one should be fine. I am not concerned. So, I use an old small coffee can for one for needles and one for blades. I don't have any coffee cans, but I might know some people who could give me one. I'll have to rinse it out really well because I can't stand the smell of coffee. But I do need one for blades. I've been just kind of winging it with my blades. That's not exactly the safest bet. I've been putting them like back in the container and like hoping I can tell the difference later that they're a used blade. So we're gonna see. I might upgrade. There we go. That piece and one more piece to trim, and then I can start sewing. And I'll have all the pieces I need for 1/4 of the quilts. And so we will have half of the quilt done tonight. Yay! Once I get the black sewn on. Assuming I don't have to rip too many times. We're just going to see how far I get. Use the small cans? Okay. Well, my husband drinks coffee, but I've got him on Keurig now, so like we don't even have the cans of coffee. My mom drinks coffee, but like my mom, I think, buys the huge cans because she is a dedicated coffee drinker. Use a Sharpie to write old on it. Yeah, my Sharpie keeps growing legs and walking away. That's the only problem. I used to do that. I used to Sharpie on every used blade, but they have grown legs. I probably need to get one of those Blade Saver trimmers and swap to that and start using that, because then I have a purpose for my old blades. I actually have Gypsy, let's see, the Cutting Gizmo by Gypsy Quilter. Tiffany from Tiffany's Quilting Life has one just like this. And there is a little hole cut in here at the top. It is, if I put my pinky in there, my pinky would fit. But it is just like just that wide. It's not super wide. And in the side, you just push a new blade in. It's one of those razor blades, like the straight razor, those kinds of blades. You put one of those in here, or utility blades. That's where I can get them, is the the hardware section. You just put a utility blade in there, and so when you're separating your chain pieces, you're just pulling the thread down in that little groove, and it's cutting it. But they don't make that one anymore. They only make Blade Saver now. So if I upgrade to Blade Saver, then I would have that too. All right. So I'm going to put my Martelli mat back over here. I love my Martelli mat, don't get me wrong, but they're so expensive. I would love to have the full, cutting table size Martelli, but I do not have the money for that. Sorry. Gotta rehydrate. Kind of. If you call carbonated drinks rehydration. I do, so. But, that's everybody's, up to them, what they do. All right. So, let's start with the first three. And let me grab the pattern. So let me see if I can show you guys what I'm doing by the pattern so you can see it. Because if it's got cutting or measurements, I can't. Okay, yes, I can show you. Yeah, because those are just, I can't. I can show you all of this. All right, so we are going to go to the ironing board and get that transitioned over. And there's my Dr. Pepper bottle in the lake. All right. So they have, we're going to pull this down to help with, I'm so sorry. How large will the prism quilt be when done? It is going to be, oh, you know what? It does say on here, 64 by 64. So it's not going to be super huge, but it's going to be pretty. So if I were to lay everything out, this is the layout. So they don't have any colors in any of this because they want you to color it in with your own colors. So let's say I've already done this diamond or this quarter, then I'm doing the next one. And I put it back up on the wall, a different direction. So it doesn't really matter. So here they show you it's going to go together. There's row 1, which is these little 2 diamonds. Then row 2 is this. Oh, there we go. Row 2 is that. Row 3 is this. Then there's this row 3, which is a mirror. This row 2. And then this row 1, that's a mirror. So what you're doing is you are assembling half of it and then half of it. And they're showing this picture, it looks more like this is a quarter, this is a quarter. That's not the way I'm doing it. I am doing it more as a triangle section, which is what is coming together here. But again, they're still kind of showing it close together. I think that's for printing purposes. So I'm doing 1, 2, 3, and then 3, 2, 1, and assembling that. And then so 1, 2, 3, and 3, 2, 1 will be the same. So that's what I'm working on. All right, so let's swap you guys back over. There we go. Transition it over. All right, so on the one on the wall, let me reposition my light. That's what was causing the thing to move so much, is I was repositioning the light. There we go. More light in the room without blinding you guys. Let's not blind me either. Okay. So I've got an outer purple point that you can't see, an outer pink, an outer purple, an outer pink. So my next outer is going to be a purple. So here's my purple. It's going to be my outer point. And the next piece down, oh gosh. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. So this piece will go with the smaller triangle. And it will go this direction. All right. I have 3 different triangle sizes here. I've kind of got them memorized a little bit. So let me show you guys what I'm doing to line this up. Let's see. Okay, transition over. So I'm going to be putting this triangle, and it's not very well pressed. Like there's a major crease there, but that's okay. I'm going to put that triangle onto that piece. So that is all I am doing. Guess a whole bunch of people went home. Oh well, it happens. We are down to 6, but I'm glad you 6 are here. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I'm trying to think if I leave it like that and press it up. I got plenty. I've got extra. So I'm not worried about pinning it. These are bias seams on the black triangle. However, my machine does have dual feed, so that does work like a walking foot. So I am just going to back it up a little bit to where I want to be and get this stitched down. So I think tomorrow I may work on the Elizabeth Hartman. I don't know. I really need to get working on it. I've been spending so much time pressing Flying Geese that I really haven't worked on it. Because I was just trying to get it all done in a big batch. Alright, so we have our first piece put together. And I am going to look at the pressing instructions and see which direction I'm supposed to go. And I just need to leave this out. So we are going to press the seam towards the sashing. All right. Now, row. Oh, you know what? Oh, goodness. I was not watching. All right. So I do have another piece to put onto this. And it is going to be the next size up triangle. And we're going to see how I will do. And so this does go on there this way, that way. So we are going to go ahead and line this up. I was supposed to put this triangle on first, not the other one. But I think it will work out just fine. I don't think we'll have anything to worry about. You know what? Yeah, we will. Oh, you guys. Today is definitely going to be a Jackie day. Today is a Jackie day. And so, I don't know. I know I said it earlier, but the way that I rip is I literally rip cutting into every second or third stitch. And if you guys do want to see this up close, like closer than this, I can show that to you. Just let me know. So what do you guys all watch when you are sewing? Do you put on a movie? Do you just put on music? Do you just sew in a quiet room? Yeah, Chloe, I managed to screw it up. Jackie has come back to visit. All right, I'm going to turn my fan on here in just a second. I would tell my Amazon device to turn it on, but I don't know how many of you guys have me on speakerphone where your Amazon device can listen in. But I don't want to accidentally turn on devices in your homes for you. So I'll do it by my phone here in just a second. That is the only drawback of being live, is I can't just yell at my device. So we have an ongoing thing that we do here at the house, or here at my house. If I, my husband likes to do the fake arguments. He'll pick an argument just because, he can. Something stupid. It's not even an actual argument. It's just I'm the boss of this house or whatever, something silly that really doesn't matter. And it's all in good fun. And so my response is to tell my Amazon devices, which there's 2 of them in the apartment. You have whatever's on TV for the noise. Okay, that works. So I tell the Amazon device, my husband does not like death metal music. I don't particularly care for it, but I can listen to it for, a minute or 2. It's not going to harm me any, but it doesn't annoy me. But I just tell our little devices to start playing death metal music. And he sure changes tune when that music starts. And then he gets so frustrated he can't get her to turn it off. Oh. I will sometimes have music on, and then sometimes I have YouTube on, a creator on, or I have you guys on to watch me mess up multiple times. Nothing new. I was going to turn my fan on. I knew there was something. Hang on just a second. I feel bad because I have had so many people not able to hear me lately on my phone that I have gone and bought a new phone case just to get people to be able to hear me. All right. So, all right. So here's my piece. Here's where this triangle goes. Here's where this triangle goes before that triangle. Let me put that one off to the side. I'm always up to something. So are any of you doing the Cotton Cuts mystery quilt, the puzzle mystery quilt Tree of Life? This is my first time ever doing a Cotton Cuts. And the clues just came in, and my friend and I, she wanted to do them, or she wanted to do the puzzle mystery, but she was worried about doing it by herself in case she got stuck. And I agreed to, do the puzzle mystery with her. And so our clue for month 2 just came in, and we've already, both of us pre-purchased everything. So we have all of our fabrics, and she's already pulled her fabrics out and laid them out to see, what it's going to look like this month. Mine is still in its little box. I'm going to wait until she gets hers done. In case she has any problems, then I'm there to help her. Not this time? Okay. I did not actually choose my colorway. My husband chose my colorway. I am doing chestnut. It has a lot of oranges and browns and blues. It's not exactly what I would have picked myself, but I told him to pick something that he likes, or that would challenge me that's not in my normal colorway, and that's exactly what he did. You're working on Carnival. Awesome. I am looking forward to seeing how Carnival turns out. I know a lot of people are working on Carnival. I know, I believe Sean is working on Carnival too. Arlie, you're not either? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I wouldn't have considered doing it, except that my friend wanted to do it, and she wanted company. And I don't mind being company. Alright, so that's the correct triangle. Let's see which way I'm supposed to press it. That way I don't screw that up. Because you know me, I am able to do that. Alright, this is going to be pressed towards the diamond. So let me press that seam real quick. Now, one thing I did do is when I did my diamonds, because this batik is so sheer, I did press all of my diamond seams towards the diamond. That's not the direction the pattern said, but when it comes to these outer seams, I kind of have to follow the directions because there's going to be a nesting on seams. So I kind of have to do that. All right, so now I can add that triangle that I had to pitch over here earlier. And where did I put it? Missing triangle, there it is. It's even got the seam marks in it. I don't know if you can see it up close or not. Nope, I'm not showing it probably. But I can see them. In person, I can see my seam holes. Amaze myself. And this is one of them. All right. Let's get that held in place. And I'm not going to pin. I know there's a bias seam here along the black diamond piece, but I'm not worried. Not worried one bit. Because again, my machine has that dual feed. And if you're working on this on a regular machine that does not have dual feed, basically what dual feed is it's like a built-in walking foot. So all of my sewing on all of my pieces, whether it's this or whether it's my Elizabeth Hartman that I've been working on, but not working on enough lately, or, you know, whatever project I'm working on, even paper piecing, I have that dual feed engaged. So basically I am working like I have a walking foot on my machine all the time. So that will affect the accuracy of your piecing. So if you've never tried piecing with your walking foot, if you're willing to put up with the noise, because I know some of the older style walking feet are very noisy, but if you're willing to put up with the noise of a walking foot, it does make things stay together better. All right, so now we have both of the diamonds both of the triangles put onto this piece. And see how sheer that black is? That is just because that is a super bright light for my machine. That's why you guys are getting a solid white here. And then this white is super sheer as well. So you're going to see the seam allowances. All right, let's see if I'm supposed to press towards this diamond, or press towards the diamond from here. And it does look like I am. So let me, okay, yeah, because that will actually match the piece that I have from the other direction. So the piece that I have up on the wall, that does match. All right. There we go. That's out of the way for the moment. All right, here's the fun part. This is the part that I screwed up so many times before. All right, so my inner piece for this is supposed to be the pink. So this will be the purple on the outer. That is the correct orientation. So here's what I screwed up before. And let me turn that. There we go. So when, see if that a little bit of extra light here. And I'm going to angle this down real quick, you guys. So please be aware the camera is moving. All right. And we're going to put the microphone out just a little bit. All right. So when this piece and this piece go together, they're going to join along this seam line. when they go to join along the seam line, if all I do is flop them like that and stitch that seam line, then the problem that I have is that this line right here does not continue to this line right here. So we're going to fix that. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to see which direction this seam will be pressed. Okay, this seam will be pressed this way, towards this diamond. So that means this seam allowance will be pressed under. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the ironing board. I'm going to take you guys with me. I'm going to take this to the ironing board and press under that seam allowance so you guys see exactly how I'm doing this. So let me swap you guys over to the ironing board. All right. So this is the piece that is joining with here, and this is the direction that these are going to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press under the seam allowance on this piece and just on this piece, and I'm going to go as accurately to 1/4 inch as I can. And I guess I should probably start at the end that's closest to the iron because I am right-handed, and that would be a little bit easier. So now if you guys didn't know that about me, I am right-handed. Now you know. Crazy, crazy things you can learn on YouTube late at night. And it's not really that late here, but all right. That's not completely accurate all the way down, but it's close. Let me take my ruler and just see how close I got that 1/4 inch. Oh yeah, you know, except for this little section down here, we're good. So let me fix this little section down here a little bit. Let me fix it up a little bit. And good night all. I'll have to watch replay. Okay, that not a problem, Chloe. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. I am so glad you were here. Thank you. All right, so we've got 1/4 inch. All right, so we're going to go back over to the sewing machine. So we're going to transition back over. All right. So we are going to take the piece that I've got the pressed on, and it's going to be attaching again like that. So I want to make sure I rearrange how I'm doing that so that I know exactly where I'm going. And so what I am doing, and I'm going to use my ruler so you guys can see, I am putting this piece on top of the other. Okay? So I'm just putting it on top enough that it overlaps a little bit. It's not exactly where it needs to be yet. I'll fix that in just a minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line it up with the pieces on this edge up here. And you might see my head knock in the way or my shoulder or whatever. But I'm going to then line up the other side. And then I'm going to just shove them out a little bit to where that 1/4 inch is about where it needs to be. But I'm keeping these pieces in line with each other so that I have that perfectly straight line between the two color diamonds. All right, so I've got so the diamonds on this side are fairly well lined up. I'm just going to double check, and then these got out of place a little bit, so I'm going to adjust them a little bit. And this seems like it's a lot more finicky than it actually is. Most of it is just because I'm on live and trying to explain myself as I go. Gotta add the level of difficulty, right? All right, so I'm going to tuck that in just a hair. All right, so that's about where we need to be. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave that there, not disturb it. And I'm going to take my pins. And I'm going to pin through Oh, my seam allowance got adjusted. All right, let's fix it again. All right, so I'm going to line this back up and line that back up. And then I'm going to check my seam allowance before I say it's not going anywhere. All right. Seam allowance is laying flat there. Diamond is pretty spot on there. Okay. All right, we are good. We are good. All right. So what I'm going to do, leaving that there, I've got my pin. I am going to pin through 3 layers. So I am pinning through the front of the sashing here, the seam allowance of the sashing here. So remember, I pressed under that seam allowance, and then I'm catching the strip here, the sashing here. All right, so I've got that one pin in, and I'm going to hold it still, and I'm going to pin one more place, one more time. And because these are flat flower head pins, they are going to lay completely flat. That's kind of important for doing it this way, or doing what I'm doing, the way I'm doing it. All right, so I've got 2 pins in. So now these 2 pieces are attached. They're not attached in a way I can sew them, but they are attached. And I'm just going to double check to make sure that seam line is lined up. And then I'm going to come down here, and I'm also going to check down here. And my diamonds aren't perfect, but yeah, they're pretty darn well lined up. Okay, so they're not that far off. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We've got this where we want it, but we can't sew it like this. I'm not going to sew a stitch down there because then you're going to see the stitches. So because it's pinned, I can now flip it over. Now what we can do while it's flipped over is come back in with our pins, and we are going to hold it in place still, and those pins are helping hold a lot of it in place, and all we are doing is grabbing the seam allowance. I'm going to grab this from the side that I pressed, and I don't think that's going to lay flat. Hang on. Let me grab it around. All right, now I can kind of see what I'm doing a little bit better. Maybe you guys can see this a little bit better too. So my seam allowance is not, straight the entire way. So like I've got that 1/4 inch on one side, but the other side is not easily, is not matching 1/4 inch. So we are going to use that press line as our guide when we sew this. So we have basically a built-in seam line showing us exactly where we need to go. All right, so I've got my first pin in. So my second one's going to be in the way, or this pin from the front is going to be in the way. So I'm going to flip it over just long enough to grab the pin, and then I'm going to come back up, and I am going to grab just those seam allowances. And we're going to make sure that it continues to lay flat. So I've got room for another one. So I'm going to grab and do another pin. And again, make sure that it is still laying flat with the way that everything else was set up. And I am finally ready to grab this one because these pins are really long. I really don't like long pins like this, but it's what I've got, so that's what I'm using. All right, we're going to do that next pin. And that flower head on that one is going to put us in a little bit of a ripple. And then we are going to come down here, and we are going to do one more pin. So for this one seam, I have 5 pins. That is a crap ton of pins for me, especially, because I normally don't pin anything, but I am pinning this. All right, so I've got those pinned on the back side so that I don't have to use Jackie any more than absolutely necessary. We are going to pull the ruler back out, and we are going to double check again. Pretty darn straight there. And we are looking pretty darn straight there. I mean, it's not exact, but my diamonds aren't perfect. So that's about as good as we're going to get it. So now we can actually bring the machine back up, sew along our little crease line, and we will have perfectly attached diamonds. And again, the seam allowances are not going to be accurate because they're not. But as long as I sew along my crease line and exactly where that crease was, these should be exactly where they're supposed to be. So we are going to test it. Everything is always a test. Do not sew into a pin. A friend of mine sewed into a pin the other day and she broke her needle. Thankfully, that's all the damage she did, is breaking her needle and damaging the pin. And it broke the needle clear in half, and the top part of the needle, or the eye of the needle part, was actually stuck into the top part of the needle, the rest of the needle, the part that was still in the machine. So like it stuck and stayed together, so it was really easy to fix, but it was still scary and sketchy for a minute. All right. So, verdict. What you guys think? Looks like those diamonds line up pretty darn good. So, you've got to ignore the sashing. The sashing is not going to line up on this. However, I mean, putting my hand behind it, you can really see the sashing. But those diamonds line up. And that's what I was trying to go for. So that's what I had to rip 3 or 4 times already on the other piece. All right, so these are going to press towards the outside diamond, which is this one. So let me press this real quick. We'll attach a black triangle. And then this is going to be the super long triangle. So this is the biggest of the triangles. And it's not a complete triangle. They did have you lock off the top point. So that means that this is only going to go one direction. Thank you, Glenda. I appreciate it. All right. So that is going to go to the end of that. So this will be one long strip. So it's got 3 pieces. It's got diamond 1, diamond 2, and the triangle, the background triangle. So we are going to line this up. And this, the nice thing about the triangles is they are a little oversized, not by much, not by as much as some of the other QuiltWorks patterns I've worked on, but they do line up to give you a nice 1/4 inch edge, kind of, if you know what I mean. They're not excessively oversized one way or the other. The center of this was a lot easier to put together than the last QuiltWorks that I did, but it's not, the finishing is not as precise on this one. And that's just my personal opinion from the way that I sew. All right. So we are pretty good. I've got a pretty straight line here. I've got a little bit of a divot there, but it's not going to matter. And then I've got way over on this side, so we're still good. All right, so these go press towards the, oh, you know what? Okay, it goes towards the outside, so it'll go that way. It'll go towards the background. So let me press this real quick. And then we are going to see how I have done. I'm so glad you guys are joining me tonight. Now, are you all usually up this late, or is this kind of abnormal for you? Or is it just because it's a weekend? You guys want me to, bring you on to hang out like this more regularly? This is definitely the latest I think I've been on in a long time. Alright, so my sashing really does not match up, but again, I was not worried about that. However, this is where I screwed the last one up. My diamonds did not match up. So I am going to have to do the same thing with the diamonds here. You know what? This one's going to be easy. So in the sashing, we have a seam right here. So there's a seam going right here through the sashing. On the piece that matches it, there's a seam right at that same spot. So I'm going to be able to line up my 1/4 of an inch in on the sashing there. And that will work to give me where I need to be. And that diamond will line up really well. It's going to be the other end that does not do that. Oh, I'm sorry. I just hit the mic. All right, let's see. All right, so we're going to pin our 1/4 of an inch. And it's going to lie right about there. And I'm looking through the fabric as I'm doing this. You usually go to bed around 11. And it's almost 10 where you're at, right? So you've got about an hour. Because I think you're on Central Time, if I'm not mistaken. I've been going to bed off and on about 11 to midnight lately. Some nights I have gone to bed as early as 8, and then other nights I've gone to bed like 2 a.m. So I'm not quite sure how late I'm going to stay up. Just depends on what I'm feeling like. Alright, so we're going to see how this is going to line up. And again, I am not worried. I've got extra sashing on the diamonds. And we're just going to work that in. Alright, so I've got extra here as well. We're just going to work it. The older I get, the less sleep I get. I wish I worked it my way. Hi, Laura. I'm glad you popped in to say hi. Give me if you'll hang around for just a couple minutes, let me get the seam sewn. You'll get to see exactly what all I have done tonight so far. I will have got 1/8 of a quilt top assembled. And then I'm going to try to work on the other 1/8 to get a full 1/4 done tonight. But I understand if you can't hang around for that long. I'm glad you stopped in, Laura. I really appreciate it. All right. Here we go on this seam. And this is going to make 1/8 of the quilt. So we added 3 black border pieces, and we've got 3 diamonds to go with them. And we've done a lot of lining up, and we've also done a lot of seam ripping tonight. But this will get us a whole heck of a lot closer to being able to call this quilt top complete. Not the quilt complete, but the quilt top will be complete. And I am stretching it a little bit. I am going to be the one to quilt it, so I already know I'm going to have a little bit of wobble to fix when I quilt. So I already know that's going to be the case just because the way I've been a little careless with it. So I know it's going to be there. It's actually early here. I'm on Mountain Time. Oh yeah, I'm on Mountain Time too. It's 8:48. I'm in Wyoming, Laura. Where are you if you're on Mountain Time? I am not looking forward to spring forward, I will say that much. Spring forward is going to get me. Spring forward is definitely going to get me. All right, there we go. I've got that seam done. Let me press it real quick so that I can say I have completed the full 1/4. All right, and this is going to go this direction. Yep, I knew you were on Mountain, Joyce. I remember you're here in Wyoming. I'm excited about that. You're about 2 hours away from me. It's It's always nice to have my Wyoming people here in the chat. You guys understand me. Even though I'm still a new transplant to Wyoming, I am super happy to be here. I just hadn't seen you comment in a little bit, so I wasn't sure if you were still here. All right, let me grab the mane and get you guys pulled over. All right, drum roll, drum roll. Here we go. 1/4. I'm going to pull this down so I can hold them up together. So you guys can see just how this is going to go. And yep, it's gangly. It's a mess. All right. So that's how this is going to go together. You'll be here for a little bit longer? Okay, awesome. You're in Arizona. You don't change time or clock. Oh, gotcha. All right, so there is 1/8 added to it. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Arlie. I appreciate it. All right, so we want to do one more. We want to do one more of these. That way we can have 1/2 of the quilt done. And then we could actually go ahead and attach it. I will not be shy and go ahead and attach. I do not mind. I am so happy. This is coming out so pretty. And I do, as I mentioned early on tonight, I do have a boo-boo in this first quarter. And I know my light is like right there. Thank you, Glenda. I appreciate it. So I do have a boo-boo in the first quarter, so I will have to fix it. But I'm not going to fix it right this second. I've been doing a lot of other fixing. So you guys, my board is not 64 inches. My board is 60 by 60. So my board is not even big enough for this quilt. And this is not a very big quilt at all. Oh, that is looking so cool on camera. Oh, awesome. Okay. Yes, I get amazed myself. I'm so amazed. All right, we're going to pick up my drink that fell over. And there's a lid on it. And yes, it is more Dr. Pepper. We're going to see if I get lucky. I got lucky. It didn't spear. I promise I did not buy stock in Dr. Pepper. I am not supporting them in any other way other than just buying their drink. And it's going to go there for now because I don't want to knock it over. Now that it's opened, because then it really loses its fizz. All right, so my outside piece there was pink. So my outside piece next is going to be the blue, the purple. And this is going to be the 3 piece. So this is going to be the long. All right, so my outside of that one was purple, so my outside of this will be pink. All right. And then we're going to have a long piece on the other side. All right, so this is the piece that this is the long piece like what we just finished for the other. And we are going to be pressing our seams. Ooh, I heard something weird. Will I do a straight? I know that I'm going to have to fill in this background, but I'm thinking because I am going to put it in a show that I can probably get away with doing matchstick quilting in the outside. So I might be doing straight stitching. I do have a sit-down long arm. She is over here. She is the beast. This is Beauty. That's the beast. But I'm not confident and comfortable enough with her yet to be able to keep my stitch length consistent, and the judges are going to look at that. So I think I probably will quilt on Beauty. So doing straight line stitches actually would not be a bad idea, because then I could really highlight the diamonds and kind of bury the the imperfections in the sashing. I'm just like kind of do an echo, maybe, I'm thinking. It's actually not a bad idea. I might do an echo, because I'm not going to pay to have her quilted. Because if I pay to have her quilted, then I've got to put a quilter's name on there when I submit it for quilt shows or whatever. And I would like, for whatever wins that I get, to be in my name. Not, not that I don't mind sharing the glory, because if somebody does contribute their time, I do want them to get the recognition for what they've done. So, no problems whatsoever, but I do want it to be all my own work. So I am kind of looking to do that. I know on the sample, they quilted a whole bunch of feathers in the outside. Oh, they quilted feathers all over this thing. I am not that good of a quilter yet as far as the quilting process. So yeah, we probably are looking at straight line quilting. Bring it a little bit more modern. All right, so that was the rows 1 through 3 there. This is rows 3. Okay, so outside presses to in. So my outside piece will have the seam allowance. All right, so I'm gonna take you guys over. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Glenda. I have got a lot of stuff to get done too. I've got 4 quilts to quilt. 1 that will be on Beauty. The rest will be on the Beast. And then I have got 1 full quilt to make by the middle of April. And I'm probably going to take you guys along for the journey. I will have to fix my light stand later. My light isn't on, but my light stand is standing like this. I have got to get the temperature quilt done by middle of April so that I can publish that pattern for you guys. And, of course, start my own personal temperature quilt. But then I've also got a baby quilt to make by the end of May. So, you guys will probably get to come with me on that journey. I haven't talked to the mom about whether I can quilt or if I can put it together on YouTube. I don't think any of the family knows that I'm on YouTube. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, but we'll see. All right, let's go back over. All right, so this is the piece that is going to have the seam allowance pressed under. And no, that does not work. That will not work. Did I press that the wrong direction? Hang on. I mean, it says going that way. Oh, you know what? I am wrong. I'm reading the pattern wrong. This is the piece that's going to have the seam allowance pressed under. All right, and it is going to be this edge that's going to press under. So all I am doing is the same thing that I did earlier, and I am pressing 1/4 of an inch up. And this is going to give me my area to pin with so that I can line my diamonds up without having to fight with them. Now, if I showed someone this technique the other day, and if you have ever tried to piece sashing or borders or anything like that, and you've got like a print or something and you're trying to match prints, this is the way that I do it to match those prints and get a solid match every time. So you take the piece that's going to lay on top, you press back that seam allowance, and then you lay and pin and all of that. So we're going to bring you guys back over to the sewing machine. I'm giddy over these little transitions, you guys. That I'm so happy that I can do that now. When I bought the new microphone, it came with some like things for the software that I'm using, and I think it's the coolest thing in the world. It's so awesome. All right, so this is the direction these are going. I'm gonna turn that off so you guys don't get blinded. All right, so that's the direction that these are going to go. Gonna get that out of the way for the moment and grab my ruler. We're going to do the same thing that we did last time. We are going to line up, and I am making sure that the piece that's got the seam allowance pressed is on top. And so I'm going to line up my ruler on my diamonds and not bump it out of my hand. Here we go. So it's lined up. So now I'm going to slide this other piece underneath it to where it matches and looks like it's supposed to look. Looks like I want it to look. We'll put it that way. Looks like I want it to look. And then we're going to slide the pieces apart just enough so that they're about that seam allowance. That seam allowance right there. Okay. So this end looks good. And I keep bumping this microphone, you guys. I don't know what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to figure out something. I know you guys can hear me better, but I'm definitely bumping it more where it's at. You know what? I did not have my full seam allowance. I'm going to start from the other end. We're going to start from the other end and just do it that way. All right, so we've got it lined up on this piece. And we are going to move the under piece until they both kind of line up. And again, my seams are not perfect on these diamonds, so they're going to be a little off no matter what I do. All right, and that's going to be kind of a wide seam allowance. Okay, I need to shove these together just a hair. All right, let's see how that one's doing. That one's looking a lot better. And that one is looking almost good enough. You know what? Let me do that. I had fabric from this piece sticking up over that piece. So it was my bad. All right. So, I mean, it looks like it's fiddly, and it is a little bit, but this is by far the most accurate way that I have found to put these two pieces together. And, you know, because there's not necessarily any seams in the sashing. In this case, there actually is, so I could be using those instead. But I like this technique, and it works 100% of the time if you do it, you know, if you follow all the steps. So, all right, so we have got that laid down. I'm going to hold it while I put that first pin in. All right, and we are going to get the ruler out of the way and put another pin in. I think this did probably shift a little bit, so I'm probably going to have some adjustments to make. But we shall see, we shall see, we shall see. Oh. Almost, oh goodness. My pins do not like these batiks. I wish I really had some extra fine pins. They would work much better for these batiks. Especially when you've got extra seam allowances in the way, your batiks are going to be a little bit tougher to pin through. Okay, so I've got those two pins in. Let me double check. Let me not skip a step. All right, so come double check. And that is good enough for me. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for me. And this side is, it's going to be as good as it's going to get. Yeah, my seaming, you guys. I stretched some of these diamond pieces when I put them together. It's all my fault. And I keep unthreading my machine. I don't know how come I managed to do that so well. I do. I'm like moving my fabric up underneath it after I had cut my thread. There we go. All right. So how many of you guys are going to join me tomorrow? I'm thinking it's going to be tomorrow afternoon. Probably I'm thinking I'm going to go live about 1 o'clock my time. And I'll probably be on for a good 3 hours, I'm thinking. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow. It's just the amount of time that I think I'm going to have that my husband won't be home. I won't have, I'm not going to be missing any family time or anything like that. And the dog is usually good to hang out for 3 hours, without being upset that, he's not getting attention. So if I go live about 1 o'clock Mountain Time, that puts it about 2 o'clock Central Time. So that's about what time I'm thinking. And I will silence my watch before I go live tomorrow. Oh, is she? I don't know. I'll have to look. Yeah, I will have to look. If she's having her birthday bash, I don't want to infringe on her birthday bash because I want to go watch that. Debbie is a sweetheart. Sounds good. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I may stop by her birthday bash. I don't know. Like, if I'm going live about the time she's having her birthday bash, I don't want to, I'm not going to try to take people away from her or anything. Because I want people to enjoy her birthday bash too. But this is also the time I'm going, or thinking that I'll go. But, if I have to move it a little bit, I might move it a little bit and see. It just depends on how long she's going to run. I will probably send her a message, Joyce, and see. I think it's 5 p.m. her time, so 3 hours. Yeah, because she is Eastern time. And so, yeah, I would kind of run over into hers a little bit. Gosh. Okay, I will look in and see. I may see if I can start earlier. It just depends on when he is leaving. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. So my husband is also helping with one of the local theaters with their productions. And tomorrow is the last performance. It's been an amazing show. I mean, just very well done. And he's put a lot of time and effort into it. And tomorrow is strike, so they will have to break everything down. So I don't know if you know anything about theater, that last show is always going to be the longest time you're going to be there because you're spending so much time breaking down the set. And because it is a local community theater, they really don't have like an entire crew just for strike. So all the cast members and directors and assistant directors and stage hands and everybody who plays a part, if they are physically able, they are there for strike. It's just kind of one of those necessities, and it's that last time that the cast gets to hang out together as a cast and crew. I went to school for theater. I was going to be a director. And then I realized that I did not like dealing with all of the very artsy people that I was going to have to deal with. I much rather preferred the people who didn't push boundaries as much. Even though, really all you're going to find in theater is people who push boundaries. And that's, it's not a bad thing. But it's definitely not the crew that I could handle hanging out with all the time. Alright, so my seam allowance was... Yeah, I've got some extra seam allowance there. Let's see how close I got. Well, it looks pretty good up here, but it doesn't look all that great down here. You know what? I've got some bowing right here. I'm going to use Jackie and pull just this little section out. We're going to see if I can mesh it just a little bit better, because I've got the extra room to do it. I'm wondering if, because I'm having to play with my seam allowances, if the quilt's actually going to be 64 by 64 when I get done. So we're going to see. And then if I were to quilt it on the long arm, we know it's not going to be 64 by 64 when I get it done. So the quilt that is hanging in our living room, I don't remember what the finished size was supposed to be, but there were a lot of places that, just because I'm learning this machine, learning the beast and all her quirks, and how to navigate a sit-down long arm, all the long arm experience that I have are with long arms on frames. So this is new territory for me, but it's what I have room for. So we're going, it's not a bad thing, but, it's definitely a learning experience. So with that being said, I did not have a completely square quilt or squared up quilt when I got into quilting. And so I was fixing it a little bit in the binding to try to make it to lay flat and to be able to have a binding on it that looked good. Okay, that looks better. And that end still looks good. Okay, so we have 2 diamonds attached to each other and they look good. All right, so these diamonds are going this way, and we are going to have a triangle with a lopped off point added onto this end. So let's go ahead and lay this down and get this added. And then we will have the 1 diamond with the 2 black pieces added to it. And then we will be able to put all 3 of these together, and we will have another 1/4 of a quilt done. Or no, sorry, correction. We'll have another 1/8 of a quilt done. Then we will have just 1 long seam to sew the 2/8 of a quilt together, or 1/8 of a quilt together. And we'll have a 1/4 of a quilt. And we may just go ahead and sew both quarters together tonight. So that way we can say we finished half of a quilt top. And again, we're phrasing it half of a quilt top because it is just the top. It is not the finished quilt. All right, here we go. All right, so I've got a little bit of the room there. However, we are under 1/4 of an inch, just by a hair, so it will be caught in the seam allowance. I do not have to worry about it. This is what's called, I fudged it. All right, so we have the 1 long strip, and let's take a direction. Okay, I press it this way. So let me go press real quick. And just double checking the one that's on the wall, and yes, it does go that direction, based off of what is on the wall. All right, so that strip is done. All right, next piece is this 1 lonely piece, and the pinks are going to go to the outside, and we are going to need 2 triangles to go with it. So we're going to have 1. And yeah, I know it looks like a triangle. I just laid it any old way. It will look like a triangle when I lay it out. And there's the other. I don't get to do this with laundry. Like, I fold the laundry straight from the dryer and hang it up. Oh, I'm so sorry about kicking the camera. I fold the laundry immediately from the dryer and put it somewhere, like put it on a shelf or whatever to be able to put it away. Or I hang things up immediately. So I don't get to do this with laundry. I don't get to like toss my laundry into a basket. Like once it's clean, I don't get to toss it. So I'm tossing it. I'm tossing the quilt pieces. All right, so this is going to go this way, and we're going to attach these before we put this on. We're not going to make this mistake again. I'm sure I will make it further on in the quilt, but we're not making it again tonight. Oh, and I see a problem, possibly. Let me see how bad we are. Oh, darn. It is right at a quarter. It's going to show. All right, hang on. Let's see if I can find another piece. I have at least 2 more of those, if not 4 more of those. So, and I'm dropping stuff. So bear with me. I dropped template paper. Not that I need my template pieces anymore, but you know. All right, there is one. And I think that one's going to work. Just double check. That's the same. That one will have a problem. I'd have to rip. See, I should have paid attention, you guys, when I was doing this, but I didn't. I was just trying to get stuff sewn. And so I am paying the price by having to unsew. That one's going to have to be fixed, probably. Yep, okay. So I've got one good possibility. We're going to try it. We're going to pull the cutting board back over. So at least now I know, what I need to fix before I get on alive again. But I told you, I was keeping it real. This is just time to sew and get stuff done. It is not necessarily time to be polished and pretty and make-upped and any of those other adjectives that you can call me when I'm on my normal Tuesday night lives. Tuesday night lives are still not scripted. They're not. I don't have a script going into it. I don't write anything out in advance. The first one I did. The first one I was so insanely nervous. I wrote out a whole bunch of stuff to say. And did I stick to script? No, I did not. But it was so exciting because I had a whole bunch of people there. It was exciting to have you guys there. And it got my feet wet and got me good and ready to keep going. So that worked well. All right. So, do any of y'all have sewing plans for tomorrow? Y'all have projects y'all are working on? Or are you just hanging out with me and Debbie? I do need to message Debbie. Because I did not think about her birthday bash. Because I knew her birthday was coming up. But I didn't remember exactly when she was doing her birthday bash. And I don't want to take away from her. Alright, so we are going this direction. And this is the correct triangle. So we are going this way. And I'm just going to make sure this is lined up as we can be. And they put the bias edges here, so I'm not currently sewing a bias edge. Alright, let's see. I think after I get this full quarter done, I will feel so accomplished for the night. The chat's so quiet. Alright, seam has got to go towards the black. And I don't know if you guys could hear If you could hear something in the background, that was my husband sneezing. He has the loudest sneeze in probably this entire half of the country. I know he did have the loudest sneeze when we were in the southeast section of the country. So you might have heard him through the microphone from the other room with the door closed. I've never met anyone who sneezes as loud as my husband. But it's one of his many charms. All right. You guys are so quiet. There's nothing going on in the chat. Almost making me wonder if I'm still on live. My computer says I am. That seam is sewn, so we now have that section done, and seam gets to go towards which direction? All right, seam gets to go towards the black, towards the background. I am so sorry. I'm getting bad about catching that tripod. If it's not the microphone, it's the tripod. All right. We are just watching and listening to you. Aw, y'all are so sweet. Thank you, Joyce. All right. This is the one that I screwed up on the other one that I'm going to have to fix. So my diamonds this way, when I added these two pieces to each other, my diamonds this way did not match. So, can't do it as easily this way as I did the other. I can do the press and all of that I did on the other one. But this seam, this long seam, is the one that presses towards me, or presses under. So I can go and press it. I think what I'm going to do is just press a little section of it. I'm not going to bother pressing the whole seam. So give me just a second. I'm going to just step it over to the iron real quick. And I'm going to press just enough so I can pin near where I need to match those diamonds up on the one end. I'm not even going to worry about the other end. I'm just going to worry about that one section. All right. So I have, let me turn my, there we go. Maybe that'll give it a little bit better contrast. So I do have a little bit of a press right here. But that is just from here up to here. It is literally just that section. The rest of the seam is not pressed at all. Like I haven't done anything to it. Okay. So I am going to do the ruler trick. And instead of putting it on top of the diamonds right now, whoop, hang on, dropped my rotary cutter. Bad idea. It was closed, so, you know, no exposed blade, but it still dropped. All right. Oh, my cutting mat's over there. Okay. It's like, wait a minute, where's my cutting mat? Because I didn't see it. All right. So, I'm going to make sure that this is lined up on top, just so that I've got that 1/4 inch seam allowance right where I've pressed. And then I'm going to line it up outside of the diamonds on the edge and use that as my guiding line for exactly where I want this to fall. So I've got that there and this right there. And I'm going to put just one pin in. There's not a whole lot of need for extra pins because I'm not going to worry about the other end of this. I probably should, but I'm not going to. We're going to see how it falls, and then if I need to adjust it, we're going to adjust it. I mean, if I look at it right now, it's pretty close, so we're good, you know. So like down here is pretty close. All right, so I've got that one pin in. We're going to fold it over, and because I've got this super long seam, all I'm going to worry about right this minute is just right here where that pin is. Let me angle this up. There we go. That way you guys are not hearing me hit the microphone every 5 seconds. Okay. It's going to be in the picture, but I can't do anything about that right now. All right. So I'm going to pin right through here, just where I lined this up before from the other side. And I am pressing on, or I am pinning on the side that I have that crease at. So I know where that seam has to fall when I get to that point. And I'm going to come back over, take out my extra pin. And if I wanted to, which I don't, if I wanted to, I'd just go ahead and pin the whole stinking seam. I don't want to. So I'm not going to. And I put my pins in the wrong direction, so I'm going to have to take them out this way against my machine. But that's okay. I will just make it work, and we're just going to feed this in this way. I'm going to turn the machine back on, and I will angle the mic back down out of the way so you guys don't have that in the way, but it's still picking up my voice. And I've got my pins down here. I'm just holding them tight, and I am just lining the rest of this up. And I am lining it up to match a 1/4 inch seam. So, I mean, it is what it is, and it will be what it will be. It's probably going to be my most accurate seam on this piece. But I'm not going to stress myself about it. I'm going to get it as close as I can, and if I feel like I need to make a change to it later, I'll make a change to it later. Like that other 1/4, I will be able to make a change to it and fix it without, oh no, maybe I have to make that change now. Gosh darn it, I hope I don't have to rip before I can make this a 1/4 of a quilt, or half of a quilt. We'll have a 1/4 of a quilt done. We might not have half of a quilt done, just depends on if I feel like ripping it again. I didn't do my diamond lining up. Now, because this black is going to be over the seam allowance of the batik white that I'm using, if the seam presses towards the sashing, what I will do is I will come back and I will hand trim the seam allowance to get the black where it does not cause a shadow. If it is causing a shadow. So that is one finishing thing that I will do. So let me show you. Darken that a little bit. So here you can see my black fabric is hanging over where the white sashing is. If this has to press towards the white, if it presses towards the white, I will come back in and clip just with scissors, or I might rotary cut it just depending on how I feel. But I will clip this extra seam allowance so there is no black line showing on the seam allowance. And we are good. Those diamonds are lining up perfectly. So where that pink the red falls to the pink, to the falls to the red. Yep, that all lines up. That looks good. Alright, so I am pressing. Yep, it's going to end up showing. No, wait. It may not. Hang on. That one does not show. The seam allowance does press away, so it does press towards the black. So that one will not show. I will not have to trim it. Alright, so let me press that real quick. And I've had a lot of fun putting this together. So, and I've got other jelly roll strips. But I think I've already got another project in mind for the other jelly roll strips. But I might do something else with diamonds from jelly roll pieces. This actually went together really, really fast and was super easy to put the diamond pieces together. Just the rest of the assembly I've used the what's his name? Rob Appel. I've used the Rob Appel method of going just good enough. Alright. So we are going to swap over to the main camera. And we have another quarter. Or another eighth, sorry. I can't do math. I can't do math tonight. Alright. So we're going to join. I pinned it, y'all. I pinned it. How can you tell the Southerner from anyone else? They say the word y'all repeatedly. But I pinned it, y'all. Alright. And these colors really do make this quilt. Alright. So this is where these two will come together. Alright. And because it is so nice, I won't have to do a whole lot of pinning unless I just want to. At the Phoenix Quilt Show in January, I saw an interfacing that you sew the diamonds on. It was similar to the quilting grids with one side being fusible. I wonder if it would make it easier or harder. Now you've got me thinking. I don't know if it would be easier or harder either. I am using, if you are not a member, I don't think you are, Laura. If you use Facebook, didn't mean to do that, sorry. If you use Facebook, feel free to come join the Siberian Wind Quilting Group, and you can post progress pictures and all of that. It is a private group. So if you are making a gift for someone, you do not have to worry about them being able to see it. If you get caught sharing somebody's pictures to somebody who they know who wasn't supposed to see it, it's really poor taste. But it is a private group, so whatever you post there will not post to your public Facebook, so nobody else can see it. I actually have a super secret project that is in the works that is up on the Facebook group. And it is I am using the 1-inch quilter's grid and square grid. It's not the diamonds. But I may have to look into that and see. I'm not sure if I'm going to really like the amount of bulk that the grid adds, like the fusible interfacing adds. The demos always look easy, but some are not. I don't go on Facebook much, but I will check it out. Awesome. Yep. And I'm not posting like every day on there or anything. I actually don't post to my personal Facebook at all. I mainly set up the Facebook group. I am actually on MeWe. I don't know if you've heard of MeWe or not, but I am on MeWe. And I do post on MeWe more than I post on Facebook. And I actually haven't posted on MeWe all that much since starting the YouTube channel, just because my time is definitely taken up here doing a lot of other things. I would be more than happy to start a MeWe group as well if there's enough people interested, or if they're on MeWe. Because I know that's an alternate platform, and you don't get all the ads. You don't get all this other stuff. Let me go get you into the group real quick, because I just got the notification, and I will get you live in the group so you can see. And the super secret project, I am not answering any comments about it on YouTube, because the people that are getting the super secret projects might monitor my YouTube. It's very thin, like 10 Sisters grits. I haven't seen the 10 Sisters grits, so I'm not sure. And Laura, I did get you approved, so you should be in there now. And I don't know, I might see, I'll look later. I think I have an updated progress picture. Let's see, got Glenda's projects in there. So Terry and Charlotte. No, I have not updated my most recent picture. I will get that done after the live tonight. Because it is on my phone, not on the computer. Because again, super secret project. Yes, Joyce, absolutely. Let me go get you added. Here we go. Thank you. I love you guys being in there, because it's a place to post your projects. Come chat. There's not a whole lot going on there, but absolutely, if you guys want, I think I want to do a once a month show and tell kind of thing, or sew and tell, if you will. And if I do start doing the monthly sew and tells, I will probably do it towards the end of the month, or I will do it at the beginning of the next month. So like my first Tuesday live in April, I will do a sew and tell, I think. And if you want something shown, I will bring that onto the screen for the sew and tell. You'll have to get it posted before the sew and tell goes live, but I will put out reminders so that you know. And you can say, sew and tell. You'll have to put the words sew and tell or whatever in there. I'll give you all the info on how to do that. That way, you can share what you're working on with the community, and you can show progress, or, wherever you're at with things. I'm not gonna. One thing that I do subscribe to the belief of is any progress is better than none. So there were times that I was posting pictures to a friend of mine, and I was just going, this is my progress. My progress was literally just cut pieces. That's all it was just, I got this colorway cut, and that's it. Like, it wasn't anything it wasn't anything sewn. It wasn't anything, it wasn't nothing, if you want to call it that. Like, there was nothing to show for it other than this big piece of fabric is no longer a big piece of fabric. The 10 Sisters has 2 1.5 and 1 and 1 inch, a ½ inch finished block. They have a couple of their books that have patterns using the grid. They do have a channel. You might want to check it out. Okay, yeah. Absolutely. I will make a note of that. 10 Sisters. Okay. I will have to check that out, because that is, I want to know. Even if I never end up using it, I want to know. I am a want to know person. So yeah, definitely. I want to know if it's something that I want, or even if it's something that, you know, somebody down the road might need. If I know about it and can suggest it to them, then, you know, if you know, you know, you know. How many times can you say the words, you know? Okay, am I feeling comfortable? Am I feeling comfortable? I'm feeling comfortable. Yay. Okay. So we have a quarter of the quilts. Oh, you know what, guys? Oh my goodness. Okay, first person in the comments, tell me what I did. You can tell me what I did. All right. I'll let you guys think about it. What have I done? I want to use the 1 inch just to try and use my tiny scraps. Okay, yeah. The grid that I've got is the 820 quilters grid. That's what I'm using for that project. All right. Anybody know what I did? Oh my goodness. So this is the piece I just finished. So I'm not going to rip it, but anybody know what I did? And yeah, I realize there's a 30-second delay or something like that, so I do apologize. I don't know if anybody can think about what I just did. It is late night, apparently. I won't be sewing an entire half of the quilt together tonight. Colorway is not wrong. Colorway is correct. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see what everybody says. I cannot help but laugh at myself. I'm gonna hide my head. Gotta hide my head and still see the chat. Okay, I can still see the chat, but I'm hiding my head. You guys can see it. Colorway is not wrong, so that is not what I did. So wrong sides together. Yep, that's correct. Okay, for reference. I cannot help but giggle. That's what I was trying to make. I was trying to make a square. I did not make a square. I didn't make a square. Okay, so I could rip this if I wanted to. I'm not going to. It's not happening. Well, I could. Gosh darn it. I might. I don't know. Because I still have a piece in this to fix. Alright. So I'm going to put this up on the wall. And we are going to see it should still work. That is my logic. We're going to go with it should still work. If it still works, I'm not ripping it. Alright, and I'm going to have to put a pin in because we are not completely on the board. Alright. Alright, so that's just holding the side that didn't pin. You do that sometimes? Yep. I do that a lot, apparently. You guys get to hear my fascinated with myself and still mad at myself at the same time giggle. Alright, so this is where it will lay, and because it's going to fall behind stuff, there's another pin. Alright, looking for my pins. Let me get some of them up out of the way. I've only got 4 pins up here. These are my glass head pins. so they don't show, but they're also very sharp and they work well. All right, we're going to move ironing board and the iron and the little table out of the way. All right. This goes way down. All right. So if I can leave it, we're going to leave it. So I should have 3 diamonds that go in here. Oh yeah, we're going to be able to leave it. Because I can do the pink tip here. This can be the purple tip that it's supposed to be. And we will have a purple blue tip out here. Okay, so it will still work. But yes, so you guys are starting to see I'm way too OCD. If I see something I've done wrong, I can't unsee it and end up changing it. Yeah. So the nice thing is, and I wish I could pan up my camera without having to walk around and like manually adjust that camera, but I can't. So the nice thing is that is like that half is just going to be the way that it is. I'll do the 1/8 of a quilt. I'll do the 3 diamond piece to attach to the top, and I'll do a 3 diamond piece to attach to the bottom. And that will be 1/2 of the quilt. And so when I do the other quarter, the one I was trying to make tonight, I'll have to make sure that it's a square so that it can fall in here. So we did get half of a quilt done tonight. I just can't attach the half to each other. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe it. But I did. All right. So we have been live about 2 hours, 45 minutes. Do you guys have any questions for me? Any comments? Anything you want to see me work on? I am working on the temperature quilt sample slowly but surely. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. It is going to work. I just can't believe I did that. That was not the way I was trying to make my night go. Thank you, Joyce. I appreciate it. I am looking forward to having this quilt top done because I'm not excited to quilt it. I will bite the bullet and tell you that right up front. I am not excited to quilt it. But my husband asked me to make a quilt to put in the quilt shows. So this will be, once it's done, provided it's done on time, which it should be, I will have it in I might have it in the Central Wyoming State Fair, Central Wyoming, what is it? Central Wyoming National Fair and Rodeo or something. That's held here in Casper. I might have it in that. I don't know yet. But then I can have it in the State Fair. That will happen in August. And then it will be in the quilt show in Gillette, Wyoming. There's a big one in Gillette near my birthday. My birthday is the first weekend, or in the first week of October, and that quilt show is always that first Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. So I did go to that quilt show last year and had a blast. It's not big enough to have like classes and things like that. I am planning to go to Quilt Wyoming this year if everything works out. There's Quilt Wyoming. My understanding is that there's a quilt show and there's classes and all of that. Not everything has been issued for that. but I am planning to go to that, and that is in July. So provided finances work out, I'm going to try to go to Quilt Wyoming. There's also something that Wyoming does that I'm not accustomed to, so I'm going to try to do it this year. It is the Wyoming Quilt Shop Hop, and the more of the Wyoming quilt shops that you visit, the more stamps or marks or whatever you get on your passport, and you get entered for prizes based off of how many you get, and then you have to like submit your passport to get your get entered for the prizes. I never hardly win anything, so I don't expect to win anything, but I'm excited to do it. Joy says I have to check with my daughter about if she is going home so I can come up to see her quilt. Awesome! Or going to be home so I can come up to see your quilt. Hey, I would love for you to come see it. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to be in Casper, but I am planning to put it in Douglas at the state fair and put it in Gillette at the show up there, the Northeast Wyoming Quilt Show. So my husband wanted me to make a quilt specifically for entering in the quilt show. And when I decide on making a quilt, usually I make a quilt for one reason or another. Either it's something I want to make, or it's a challenge I want to take on, or something like that. This is the first time that I will be making a quilt, that I am making a quilt, intending it to go to a quilt show. So we are going to see how closely the judges look at all of my seams. We're going to see how they judge my quilting skills and all of that. I did enter a quilt last year, and I entered it as a nude to Wyoming, but I didn't really get a chance to do anything with it. Joy says, how come I've never heard of these quilt things in Wyoming? I've lived here my whole life. There are 3 quilt groups that I am in here in Casper. There's a Quilt of Valor group, and we do make quilts for veterans who are honorably discharged. I believe active service members are also eligible for Quilts of Valor. Don't quote me on that, but I know if you are a veteran, you have to be honorably discharged or medically discharged. But it still needs to be without a dishonorable discharge. So I am part of the Quilts of Valor group, and there is a group that meets at one of the local community centers here, and there is another one that meets out at the fairgrounds. And so those are the 3 that I'm a part of. When I lived in Alabama, when I lived in Huntsville, to be precise, I was actually a member of the Modern Quilt Guild. And so I actually joined the National Modern Quilt Guild, which is associated with QuiltCon and all of that. So, all these other content creators who just came back from QuiltCon, QuiltCon is hosted goes hand in hand with the Modern Quilt Guild. So I can't get my head around some of the modern quilt ideas. I get the concept, but it's not exactly my taste. I don't like completely traditional quilts. Like, you'll never catch me doing a Rose of Sharon. There's a lot of other things you just won't catch me doing. But I'm also not completely in the modern category. So I'm kind of in between. When I got here to Wyoming, there is a Wyoming State Quilt Guild. You can join that. I believe it is $20 a year. Don't quote me on the price, but I believe it was $20. I think that's how much it was. I'd have to go back and look at the website. But I did sign up for 2024. And the Wyoming State Quilt Guild website does have a listing of all the different kinds of events and things like that are going on. There's one I picked up today at one of the quilt shops I went to here in town. There is a quilt show just across the state line in Alaska, I want to say. I don't know. I'll have to look. It's at the end of April, but it's driving distance from here. It's not close, but nothing in Wyoming is close. Um, but Quilt, Wyoming will be in Cheyenne. So, I don't know. I don't know if you want to go to Cheyenne to go to Quilt, Wyoming. There should be more details coming soon. I know they've already announced who the teachers are going to be, but I don't know what classes they're teaching. I don't know all the lectures. I don't know. Like, I've never been to a Quilt, Wyoming. There was a Quilt, Wyoming last year in Riverton, and I knew nothing about it until there was no chance for me to go. So I couldn't have gone anyway. But Quilt, Wyoming this year will be in Cheyenne, and it just kind of like rotates around the state. After seeing some of the quilts from QuiltCon, I'm pretty sure I fall into the traditional category. I can appreciate the art and the work, but some of it isn't my style, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, that's kind of my situation too. I mean, there's some quilts in there that I think there was one that was like a hamburger. I assumed that the hamburger was appliqued, just from the picture that I saw. I think the hamburger was appliqued, and there was like, oh gosh, from like the cartoons that I grew up with, where there's like the different color like things coming out from behind it, like spotlighting the whatever's in the center, was whatever superhero or whatever, but it's definitely different. It wouldn't be what I would consider a bed quilt. And I am very much I want to make bed quilts. I'm not typically a wall hanging person. I have one. I've made several, but I don't typically make wall hangings. And a lot of them strike me as something that I would only do if I was making a wall hanging. So it's not, there's definitely room for it. There's a lot of people who love it, and they're fine. And there's some of them that I do love, but there's a lot of them that I just kind of go, my eye can't rest, and I'm expecting my eye to rest, and it just doesn't make sense to my brain. And you're allowed to have that kind of envision with art of any kind. I mean, if you go to like an art museum or whatever, you're going to see things there that match what you envision when you think of the word art. And there's going to be a lot of things there that don't, that just don't. I had a conversation with someone recently, and if I were to say the word cathedral, there's going to be something that comes to your mind. There's going to be some kind of imagery that comes to your mind when you hear that word, whether it's the organ and the sound that you imagine in a cathedral, whether it's the choir and the echo and the sound quality that you expect to hear in a cathedral, whether it's the tiled floors, whether it's the sound of you walking on the floors of a cathedral, whether it's the quiet and the people saying shh, and all of that kind of stuff. It could be the smell of the cathedral. I mean, every different cathedral is going to have its own smell, but a cathedral can have a different smell than just a traditional church or, the grocery store or a bookstore. If you walk into a bookstore, it's going to have a distinctive smell. Same thing with a cathedral. It's going to have a different smell. But when I say the word cathedral, what comes to my mind are the stained glass windows. That is exactly where my mind goes when I hear the word cathedral. I don't think of a cathedral window quilt. I don't think of, I kind of think of the organ a little bit, but I don't, my first thought, my first image in my brain of when I hear the word cathedral is those windows and the stained glass and all the different images that I've seen that were taken of cathedral windows. All those stained glass windows. They're just so gorgeous to me. But that's where my mind rests when I hear that word. And so when you hear the word quilt, everybody is going to have that same kind of reaction. What I think of when I think of quilt may be completely different than what someone else thinks of when they hear the word quilt. And I am very OCD. I am much more OCD than I let on. I'm controlled OCD. I will say that. There are some things that there's no way I'm going to be OCD about it. I don't care enough to be OCD. But then there's some things that I do. And for me, a quilt has to have batting. You can't do a quilt and put a layer of flannel or muslin in the middle. I know that's what you have to do for, very hot and tropical climates. It needs to be very, very thin and breathable. But to me, that just becomes a pretty pieced blanket or pretty pieced bedding piece. It doesn't equate to my brain as a quilt, even though it is. So, there's all kinds of different realms within artwork, and that it's so awesome that there can be so much variation, but we all have the same love, and it's of fabric, touching and feeling and maneuvering and pressing and stitching and ripping, everything that does with fabric. So, yep, I love fabric. I love fabric a lot. But yeah, so we're going to call this quits for tonight. I am not working on it anymore tonight. I'm going to go get a snack and wind down and get ready for bed. But I will check and see what time, before I leave the desk, I will check and see what time Debbie's birthday bash is. And I will see if I need to adjust my live time for tomorrow. But I will be going live tomorrow. So I'll post up a link or post up a preview video so you guys will see that. So thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Glenda. Thank you, Joyce. You guys have been the most, the ones commenting most recently. And I don't know who all else is still here, but thank you so much, all of you ladies, all of you wonderful people for joining me. Thank you, Joyce. Yep, see you tomorrow. Y'all have a good evening, and I will be back soon, sometime tomorrow. All right, bye.